Hey folks, Kaya here. I Should Roll will always be free to listen to, but it's not free to make. So please consider supporting us by subscribing to our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/Intergalactic Improv Initiative. You'll find the link in the show notes. As a stellar streamer, you'll receive exclusive bonus content and our enduring gratitude. Tiers start at $2 per month. See you on Calliope Station. This episode contains discussions and depictions of dissociation, identity loss, and dysmorphia. Listener discretion is advised.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll. www.d20radio.com.
A podcast by the Intergalactic Improv Initiative. Dangerous Dangers, Episode 22. Sergeant Westcott, 6014 Alpha Charlie 7938. Featuring the voices of Dan Spitaliere and creator Kaya Renwick.
It's one thing to lose the people you love. It's another thing entirely to lose yourself.
I Should Roll. Last time on Dangerous Dangers, since embarking on his mission to discover what happened to the SSV Marathon and his missing crewmates, Jesse has undergone brain surgery to implant a grey box, a tool meant to store memories and even personalities for study or backup. After battling Marco on the Citadel mere hours after leaving the operating room, Jesse went to rest in his cabin, and when Nyx and Athena went to question him, they discovered him hooked up to quite a few machines, and purportedly brain-dead. Jesse Westcott has been a mystery to the crew of the Corsica since their first encounters. I think it's time for some answers. Don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it is. January 20th, 2189. Terran Universal Coordinated Calendar. Ilium. Tisale System. Crescent Nebula. Nos Astra.
Look, I don't know what I'm about to get myself into, so at least I can do is give some answers. I rigged this to a dead man switch. I'm sure this is not that unheard of, but I monitor my vitals on all my gear on my Omni tool. And, shit, this is harder than I thought it'd be. This fucking headache isn't helping either. Alright, let's start over.
So you fall asleep. It's tough. It's been tough ever since you woke up. Your mind doesn't want to stop for a myriad of reasons. But eventually physical exhaustion wins out because it has to. That is the one downside to having a physical body, is that you have to listen to it on occasion, and sometimes it forces the issue. At some point later, you wake up to see yourself, but not yourself. It's like you're looking at yourself from above, and you look wrong. You know you're in the wrong body. But what you're seeing is... everything is a mess. There is just nebulas of colors, and at some point where you think you can still hear the music in the background maybe, but you're not sure if it's actually playing or if it's just your memory of it playing. But it's not quiet otherwise.
The music helps. The music helps a lot. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I shouldn't be able to remember how quiet space is, but somehow I do. And it just sits with me. And so, like, being around people has helped a lot, and I'm so thankful I'm not alone right now, but oh man, the music helps a lot. I didn't know how much I'd like this kind of music at first, but it really helps just drown out the silence. And
silence is hard.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, like I've gotten used to a lot of this. You wouldn't really like. So when we're in our world, we discovered a long time ago that doing the everyday things that organic beings do is really helpful and kind of necessary. That, like,
I can believe that.
If you don't eat or sleep or, you know, meditation has helped a lot. But, like, keeping up these processes that root us with a material body really help satiate the mind.
Sure.
Sleeping is the one thing I haven't gotten used to yet. And I don't know if it's because I was unconscious for so long, or if it's because I don't know. Sometimes I think I can feel him pull for me.
And how does that make you feel?
I mean, it's scary.
Yeah? What part of it scares you?
There is a whispered cacophony far in the background, like static, but it's definitely voices. It's really hard to make out the words. If you want to do a perception check to try, you're welcome to, but it's up to you.
Yeah, sure.
Kaya, it's not Halloween anymore.
That's a 22.
Jesus Christ. Okay. You focus on it, focus on the voices, and you can make out that there are a lot of different voices. And some of them, even as you focus, you don't know what they're saying. They're speaking languages that you have no frame of reference for whatsoever. And some they do sound familiar, but you don't know them well enough to understand. But you do make out a couple of voices, and one in particular says,
"It's so dark. It's so cold. I'm so tired."
And as you hear this, the moment the nightmare passes, with the horrible sensation of your heart skipping too many beats at once, and you wake up for real this time, staring at the ceiling of your cabin in the Corsica, and your Omnitool is whining at you about something.
What? Yeah, what? What is it?
You take a look at the Omnitool, and it is flashing at you with a health alert. Your vitals It is telling you that you've just suffered from several light arrhythmias in a row. As an N7, all Alliance personnel have a certain number of medical implants so that they can, sync up with their heart suits and so on and so forth. As an N7, you have the top of the line ones, and they were tuned up and upgraded while you were in rehab. This isn't an uncommon or unexpected occurrence. You've had several of these since waking up. The Alliance doctors figured it was probably a side effect of the length of time that you were in cryostasis, which is an experimental technology anyway, and really wasn't meant to be used on a regular basis. And so it's just alerting you that this is what has happened. You have the option of sending the data, sending the report to the Alliance, but you're not required to. What happened was not significant enough. You didn't just have a heart attack. Your heart freaked out briefly, and it's back to normal, and so this is one of those, it's gonna go in your record eventually, but you don't have to send it in now unless you want to.
Yeah, he's gonna dismiss it.
Okay. You also notice, as you're looking at the Omni tool, it is maybe about 5 hours since you fell asleep. So, quote-unquote, the middle of the night.
Shit. I still can't get used to this. I think, his hands are shaking. Maybe his whole body's shaking.
Yeah.
I think deep down inside, they know they're dissociating.
Mm-hmm.
We're in our virtual world, when we're in our digital form, we can kind of just make ourselves look like anything we want. We can shift our bodies, shift our worlds around us, and we were lucky enough that when we built this system, we built it with enough bandwidth to actually maintain that kind of capability. But you always feel it. When you're inside, you still have all of your senses about you, but there is always something that felt different about touch. There was always some kind of pull, and I never really understood what that was, just that it was there, and it's this pull for the real. I guess I always assumed it was my mind wanting to touch reality as opposed to this virtual one that we made for ourselves, but now I think it's a pull back to my body. And I could feel Jesse.
I think if you were in the room with them right now, you would notice a level of dizziness and lightheadedness. In Jesse's face is noticeably slower and a little bit heavy breathing. Not like you said before, not having a heart attack or anything like that, but just labored. And they're gonna get up out of bed and go back to their terminal and start just searching.
Okay.
They are searching for the following things.
Uh-huh.
Medical life support systems.
Okay.
Things that, but I guess portable or small, things that can
Sure.
be brought into a solitary room.
Sure. Give me an investigation check. And see how well this goes. The DC is not going to be particularly high. This will be more of what quality, what sort of stuff, what all you find.
Sure.
Finding it's not the hard part.
24.
Okay, yeah. You find without any trouble that you can get small, personal life support systems that would probably fit in your cabin. Might be a little bit of a squish to put it in your cabin, but it's doable. And yeah, it's, you can get from, full ventilator, mechanical breathing, heart, like, the equivalent of a pacemaker to keep all bodily functions going, to, the basics, like run an oxygen line and, keep an eye on the heart, like things like that. So you can get the whole gamut. And you can absolutely buy them on Ilium. You can buy pretty much anything on Ilium. So yeah, you will not have any trouble finding what you want there for sure.
Cool.
Are you doing any sort of research on what you just experienced?
Yeah. Because I think and I don't know if you want to count part of this towards the investigation check that just happened, but
I mean, that was a pretty damn good investigation check, so.
for like supplies, what we're looking for is the life support thing, a motion sensor that can be discreet, and the materials required to build, and I do not know if this is possible, and like a electric terminal.
Okay. Motion sensor, that's easy. Yeah, you can absolutely find that. What are the keywords you are using to try to find this? You've got, like, a 24 is damn high. So you're gonna find something, but what specifically are you looking for?
So I think this is a question for you in terms of what my character would know, because I think, like, how much would Afkus understand?
Yeah. I think that's gonna require another roll. Okay. My guess would be academics.
Okay. As a 15.
Okay. I think what she would be looking for is a neural interface or neural implants.
Okay.
And so then I will say on the 24, because again, really, really good roll, you're going to get results for things like gray boxes, if you remember what that is from Mass Effect.
Right?
I can feel not just like his mind somewhere out there, but I can feel within me. His body wants what was his back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think the thing I'm afraid of most is that I'll slip, and either he'll push me out before I have a place to go, or he'll just take me.
And completely unmoor you from any sort of reality.
Or just make me Jesse.
Yeah?
That's my biggest fear.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so KG and Kasumi both had gray boxes, and they're neural implants that record memories. Very, very illegal. So yeah, those, you're going to get things for those. You're also going to get reports that, like, high-level military operatives sometimes use neural implants of various sorts to, like, interface with a visor for better reaction time, for better aiming, better accuracy, or to amplify their biotic abilities, like things to work together with other implants. You also get a number of hits from, like, the Mass Effect universe equivalent of Reddit, talking about Commander Shepard. and all of the weird shit that people have seen her do over the last couple of years, and the weird stories about a whole bunch of stuff. And you're going to find, I think one thing particularly catches your eye.
Every culture has some belief in the afterlife, right? Right? Everybody wants to know that their grandma's still up there, smiling down on you. I mean, unless you didn't like your grandma, but who doesn't like their grandma? I mean, my point is, there have been people throughout history, not just on Earth, who believe in life after death. A place we go after we die, and a place you can come back from. Ghosts, poltergeists, exorcisms, ESP, astral projection, remote viewing, every culture through the galaxy has these stories, these legends. I'm here to tell you today that it's real. It's all real. So I spend a lot of time on academic research sites. You know, the places where stuffy professors publish their work so they get paid and stuff. You can learn a lot about the galaxy from just reading the summaries, especially if you read between the lines. What scientists are getting paid to research, and often, more importantly, what they're getting paid not to research. But that's a story for another time. The other day, I found an abstract with a name I think you'll recognize. Dr. Liara Tassoni, the Asari who specializes in Prothean studies? Buddies with Commander Shepard! I've already talked about her theories and research on this channel. Longtime viewers will remember my 16-part series on her paper, Security Systems in Late Empire Prothean Architecture. Riveting stuff. This latest abstract, filed only a week ago, is titled Exploring the Superconscious, an intergalactic study of the domain. It's a metaphysics and biology paper, which is way outside her norm. So, yours truly did a little bit of sneaking around. I got the full text, and it is out of this world! Or, should I say, out of this galaxy. Dr. Tassoni claims that there's a whole other plane of existence. How does she know that? Because her unnamed research subject, if you know what I mean, has visited it. She describes it like an out-of-body experience where you're on a totally different level of reality. This anonymous research subject can speak to other people in their heads. She can share another person's experiences that they're having right now, as if she's entering the other person's mind. And, as if that wasn't enough, she can even speak to the dead. Don't believe me? Hit that subscribe button, because I'm working on a multi-part series going into all the details. But, if you can't wait, click below to read the paper for yourself. This is Digital Friend 2174, reminding you to connect the dots.
Right, yeah, now I've heard the whole thing.
Okay. So that is probably the most interesting and least tinfoil hat thing you find.
I think it would catch their attention because Jessie had such a connection to Commander Shepard, like an admiration for her. They didn't know each other or anything like that, but it was, just like a high, like an N7, respecting and admiring another N7. And
totally.
So, yeah, that would definitely draw his attention. The domain. That's a name.
The domain.
I'm so... In a way, I'm lucky that when this accident happened, I had a place to go.
Yeah.
I don't know what would have happened to me if I didn't have some place to go, but I'm here now, and I've been doing the best that I can, but this is gonna get really weird.
But this gets his attention. Yeah. It starts to connect some of the dots, to use what was in I think he would probably spend a little bit more time trying to search that and see if there's anything else he could glean from the extranet in that on that subject, using the domain as kind of like a keyword.
Yep. Does he download the attached research paper?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. In that research paper, I won't make you roll for it because you're going to read it. That would be ridiculous. Roll for reading comprehension, right?
Yeah.
You discover that that this is a concept that actually shows up in a number of cultures around the galaxy. Although most, up until this paper and the work that Liara is doing, it's the sort of thing that people would be like, oh, well, that doesn't exist, right? It's like the concept of the afterlife. So for Turians, the spirits, right? The Asari concept of all is one, right? And the melding process of joining two minds together. They understand it to be joining those minds together on this same level. The way the Rachni communicate across the entire galaxy. Humans' belief, or so many cultures' belief in a place where we go after we die, right? The soul, the concept of the soul. And all of this getting put together in a Prothean idea called the Iborihe. They understood it as another level of existence occupied by the avatars. These personalities or consciousnesses that embodied the spirit of a particular virtue. So how Javik is the avatar of revenge, avatar of vengeance. Commander Shepard is now known as the avatar of victory. This title was specifically bestowed upon her at the memorial service, the first memorial service for the Reaper War. It made headlines. The last remaining Prothean names the great Commander Shepard as this final war hero of his empire. But this domain, the Iborihe, this is how their memory shards work. And there's stories of, archaeologists and scientists finding these memory shards and you hold on to it and they transfer memory through touch. And so you have these memories from this ancient civilization and you can't understand them, but the information is still given. And so now there is this growing understanding of this layer of reality that is with us all the time, almost, but not quite. And I think, you're putting the dots together, you're connecting the dots, and when you woke up the first time, that probably wasn't a dream. That seemed like a little bit more than a dream.
I don't know if that's, in this particular moment, reassuring or even more scary for Afkus. Because I think there's a part of her that worries that what she's experiencing is her consciousness dying. And Jesse just taking over, or I don't know. Because if she dies, then so does Jesse in this moment, and that's probably terrifying as well. So I don't know if there's any real solace in that particular imagination right now, but I do think it gives her an idea and the reason why she wants all this equipment and on trying to install it on the Corsica, because it comes down to two things. First of all, and maybe I should just say this in character.
Sure.
I don't know. I need a break. I need my space away from this body. And I think I do that by, I don't know. I mean, I can't get back to the Izar. But maybe I can make a little apartment for myself here. A place that I can escape to just recoup and clear myself of Jesse and his body. But if he's pulling as much as I feel he is, wishful thinking to think that his mind could pull all the way back into his body, but maybe by leaving his body empty for a little bit, I could at least get some more idea about where they are. If I'm on the right track, and maybe if I'm lucky, he can find it. Gonna be weird if anybody finds me. Mostly brain dead, though. So I have to figure out a way to rig a motion sensor to the terminal as an alarm clock, kind of, to knock me back into Jesse's body. This is gonna be complicated. But I think if I don't do this, I'm gonna go crazy. It's gonna get too hard, too exhausting. I've never been in a body this long.
I don't know the last time that I felt this. I'm usually much more careful. Maybe I'm gonna go see what I can find on Ilium. Maybe that's enough for tonight. To the crew of the Corsica. Shit, I don't have a lot of time. Fuck. Okay, here goes.
I think rolling for it is the funniest thing. Even
Okay.
though I feel like that's the least thing Jesse would do. But maybe it's rolling to see who's available. I don't know.
Sure, it could be a situation of I'm going to roll for whoever I am least averse to asking.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So if you've got 3, then, I mean, I suppose if you do it online, you can do a D3, but you could also just do 2 on each side of a D6 or whatever.
I rolled a D6. You tell me which
Okay,
applies
then
to which number.
let me just randomly decide that real quick. So we had Solace, Athena, and Clues. Okay, all right. I have picked my numbers. What'd you roll?
I rolled a 6.
You've asked Clues.
All right.
Okay.
Love it.
So, okay, before we get into that, so we know that that's a thing, we can segue into that. You sent these files to Oni. And
Yes.
the appointment time is in the middle of the night. It was a few hours from the point where we left off. And so as you're waiting, as Jesse is waiting in his quarters for everything to continue, for for time to go, he gets a message back from Hackett. And the message, it's just an email. It's not a request for a call. And the message says, Sergeant Westcott, the Alliance cannot officially condone the implantation of third-party neural implants. As you are on a top-secret, eyes-only classified mission, and you are a decorated N7 Marine in a situation otherwise unprecedented, I am exercising my executive authority to trust your judgment in this matter. If you believe this is necessary, then you do what you need to do. And that's that.
Okay, then. That's... Well, I was prepared to have to explain something.
Hackett is also kind of in the middle of dealing with everything that happened on the Citadel. So.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is literally just what Jesse is thinking to themselves right now. Just like, oh, well, that was easier than I thought. I was going to have to bullshit something, but...
So yeah, you get that message, and then the hour rolls around, and you get up. Everyone has kind of gone off to do their thing, and the only person you find, much to your surprise, is you were probably expecting Athena to literally be shadowing you every step of the way until just for the foreseeable future. She's not there.
Can I do a perception check in case she's stealthing around me or something?
Yes, please do. And when we get into the full session, I'll get Lea to do a stealth check, and we'll resolve that then.
I rolled a 6 total.
Okay, so I think you're a little nervous about what you're about to go and do. You're a little keyed up. And so she might be in the shadows. You can't tell. You don't know. She might be in the walls.
I'm also in the process of dissociating, so yeah.
Yes, yeah. There's you're not always quite sure what is real and what's not. And actually, yeah, that's a really good point. Why don't you roll me a con save, and let's see how things are after a few hours.
As a 23 total.
Okay, you're hanging on and you're doing pretty well. You've had a few moments of, like, visual or auditory hallucinations, but they're not big. They're like the sort of like something moving in the corner of your eye, or like you think you hear a voice, but then it's just like the air recycler warbled funny, and it's more processing than your brain actually throwing up incorrect information for you. And you haven't had any more, like, the worst is those moments of tinnitus where it's just, it hurts a little bit. It's not quite comfortable. But I think you probably are putting together at this point that the higher, the more stressed you are, the more disassociation is going on. However, in situations where that you're trained for, so like combat or like that sort of stress, that all goes away. You're able to focus, you're in it. And so something about muscle memory, right? Those neural pathways are so well trod that that sort of stress serves to focus you rather than split your attention. But things like emotional stress and fear, those make it harder to stay present.
I'm not right. I'm not okay. This has happened before, but never this bad and never that's consistent. And I'm holding it together pretty well, but I don't really know how much more I can, and Ilium provided an opportunity. An opportunity to help myself. And there's a solid chance, there's maybe not a solid chance, but there's a chance. There's a chance that either I don't leave this doctor's office, of all places, or if my experimentation when I get back to our ship goes wrong and the worst happens, I guess. So I have this triggered to deliver to you all. In case I die, or in case I don't wake up for a long time. Yeah. I mean, not like... I don't know. I'll figure out the time frame. Time. It's always against me.
And head to the address listed in the paperwork that you were given. It is surprisingly not back alley shady. You head to one of Ilium's many multi-story office buildings, housing 100 different companies, each renting out office space. And the suite that you go to is not marked on the directory, you only have the number for it. When you get up there, your paperwork included a code for entry. You broadcast it with your Omni tool, the door unlocks. It unlocks and you are faced with a waiting room. Presumably, Jesse has been in more than his fair share of medical facilities and waiting rooms, and this looks like any other private clinic. Honestly, it looks a bit like a dentist's office waiting room. It's very sterile, boring furniture. There's plastic plants in the corners. There's a screen up in the corner that's showing the news on silent. It's extremely quiet. Nobody else is here. There's the Solarian from the home medical solutions store is behind the desk. Doesn't really look like a receptionist. Like, it is a receptionist's desk, but there's enough paper and data pads and stuff up that it is clearly also a working desk. And it's pretty small. It's very nondescript. There's no company name listed anywhere. It is a rented space.
Are there, like, multiple exits? Or, I guess, is there an exit? Can I see one behind the reception table or something?
Yeah. There's another door leading further in, presumably to other rooms. You don't know for sure at the moment how many other rooms or what those rooms are, but...
All right. Guess I'd walk up to the desk and be like, well, hi, I made it.
Very good. Dr. Akarinas is finishing sterilization and will be with you shortly. Please wait.
Is Dr. Akarinas the other one?
Dr. Akarinas that's the name of the surgeon who's actually performing the operation, and she was listed in the documents you received. Presuming that Jesse looked her up, I imagine he would. That's the kind of thing he does. He would have found that she is a highly accredited neurosurgeon specializing in military-grade implants. She received an honorable discharge from hierarchy service following the war and has since gone private. So she's a Turian surgeon. So she and the business are presumably entirely above board, but because she's working on Ilium, she's not required to answer to anyone about what kind of procedures she does.
Got it.
The Solarian also, he asks, do you have the consent forms signed and completed?
Yeah, I do. I had a question, and I don't know if this is really for you or the doctor, maybe, but this feels like a good practice to ask, but this feels like a pretty expensive operation. What about my head or my situation or something makes me appealing to your research exactly?
The Solarian sits back in the chair and smiles, then says, fair question. Simple answer. Research that we are conducting is very avant-garde, very state-of-the-art, cutting-edge, and in many places is frowned upon or, frankly, feared. Any willing volunteer is welcome, and, to be honest, they are few and far between. Have not had many opportunities to perform such procedures on humans. Any data we can gather is useful.
So what, just the process of making a backup copy? Like, I'm confused. Like, is it my memories itself that you're interested in, or the act of what we're doing here today?
Copying the brain of an organic and all its neural patterns is very rarely done. It is generally conceived of as somehow dangerous to the patient or somehow an invasion of privacy. We have no interest in the contents of your memories, apart from the fact that they are memories. We wish to study how memories and neural pathways interact. We wish to, in short, develop artificial intelligence technology that is closer to an organic brain.
Understood. I think we might have a lot in common here.
I am pleased to hear it.
Well, I guess I'll take a seat until you're ready.
Very good. He dives into his console, just copying information over. You see scans of variously shaped brains on the consoles. And you probably have put together by now that, so in the information packet you received, it specifies, as you mentioned, that Jesse is agreeing to a full copy being made of his neural patterns and all the data present at the time of the scan. He will receive a second copy of that data as a backup in case of catastrophic failure. But the primary copy will be anonymized and held for research by Miranus Hedo, an adjunct researcher of the Helos Medical Institute of Ranadrol. This Solarian is Miranus. This is the primary researcher. And the Helos Medical Institute is a jewel in the crown of the Solarians' scientific research and development period. Ranadril was almost untouched by the war. They went off-grid very early on. They do medical research that is leagues beyond anybody else's. And that they get their funding primarily from the Solarian government, because Solarians value scientific research and advancement so highly.
All right. I'm just gonna go, like, saunter away from the counter, I guess. Take a seat.
Yeah.
See what magazines they have.
Yeah, totally. There's, random data pads, the Mass Effect version of Reader's Digest and National Geographic, shit like that. Do you want to do any attempted, like, hacking to see if you can, or investigation to see if there's anything untoward going on here?
I mean, I do, but I don't also want to risk the operation, so I think I'm gonna wait until I'm a little bit further in.
Okay. All right. You hang out for a few minutes. It's not very long before a female Turian comes out of the back door. She's wearing the equivalent of scrubs in futuristic setting, which is it's like a low profile, thin, like an envirosuit. Essentially, it's essentially an envirosuit. She's got the hood off at the moment, so she hasn't fully finished decontaminating. She has pale gray plates with yellow markings across her cheekbones and an arch over her forehead. You notice that her left mandible, the back half, is broken off. She has deep amber eyes. And you also notice, despite the envirosuit, it's very clear that her left arm is entirely prosthetic. It is not at all the same shape, and you can you can tell that there are mechanical pieces. She's got some nasty scars over the left side of her face as well, so obviously took pretty severe battle damage at some point, all down her left side.
You said mandible. I thought that she encountered Hunter's character.
She walks in, looks straight at you. I mean, you're the only person in the room. And says, Jesse Westcott, I presume.
I think, like, even then, and it's not that, like, Jesse's really nervous in, like, a doctor's office or anything, because this is becoming old hat. But, like, it's still been time. And so, like you said, the tinnitus is there. So he's, like, mid-head tilt as she calls his name, like, looks up, like, yeah. Pleasure.
Is everything all right?
Yeah. Ready to go. Just a little nervous, I guess.
Understandable. This is a significant procedure, but I assure you, I have done it multiple times before. You're in good hands. Please come with me.
Sure.
She leads you into the corridor. There are a few... It's not a very long hallway. There's a couple of doors on either side. They're all orange panel locked. And she takes you into the furthest door on the left, walks in ahead of you, and you're basically in a small decon room. You can see through the glass. There's another door and glass. The operating room is on the other side. So this is it. She motions to a small cubicle, says, go in, undress, there's an envirosuit for you, decontaminate, and come in when you're ready.
All right.
Okay, I'm trying to make this quick because I'm literally in a dressing room of a doctor's office in some part of Ilium. Cluse is gonna pick me up, so that's fun. Shit. You would think that this would be easier for me to do, but I feel so rushed right now. It's, fuck. I'm gonna delete this and start again. This is hard.
Okay. When I walk in and have a moment of privacy, okay, I know we've talked about this before, but Omni tools, are they? How are they actually on a person?
It depends. This is one of the things that BioWare never specified, so there's lots of fanon around it. In this universe, they can either be implants or bracelets. So it would be up to Jesse. I imagine that a lot of military operatives end up going for the implant route, just because it's easier. Whereas, general civilians, they would prefer to have a bracelet.
I'm also assuming, we never really said this, but I didn't show up to this doctor's appointment in full armor.
I mean, fair enough.
But ideally what I'd like to do, and I guess, if there's some sort of, and I don't know if Oni would have set me up with something like this, but, a more svelte, kind of gauntlet or visor or something that could be on my person that I could then take off and leave as a part of this change into the enviro suit type thing. I'm willing to use a stress on that if that's a I had this beforehand kind of thing.
I think that's reasonable. I mean, you're working with Oni. You've got you would have tech, and low profile hard suits are kind of a part of that stuff. So I don't think that's unduly difficult to be you had something sort of less obvious or less bulky than, full armor, full hard suit stuff that, you could leave behind. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so then what I would like to do is leave that bit behind, hacking while the surgery is happening.
Okay. All right. Okay. Then that's going to be, that'll be a hacking roll. And how do I want to do that? Yeah, just give me a straight hacking roll. We won't overcomplicate it.
Okay. Once again, I'm willing to use a stress or something to try and get advantage on this.
Yeah, you absolutely can. You can use a stress whenever you like. Yeah, and you can either you can do it. Yeah, you can do it to give yourself advantage. You can do it to give yourself a +2 to the roll. Whatever you like.
Okay. Well, hacking roll with advantage. Oh, that's really good. A 25.
Okay, great. You set it up and set it to kind of So are you trying to do a data mine? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I would like to get into their system files to search for two main things.
Okay.
One being, is there any sort of Minos hack backdoor kind of thing? Basically the kind of thing that if they hired a person to come in and be hey, could you just make sure that we're all up to date with our safety type stuff, a real in-depth IT sort of security type thing, so that I can always be oh, I was just trying to help you out.
Yeah.
Helping myself but helping you too.
Sure.
But the second prong, I wanted to be searching for any information they have about that.
Okay. All right. You set up a beautifully elegant, root-kitted in data scraper, data miner to go through everything. I think you notice as you're doing so that their systems they're well encrypted and they're secure, but they're not black box Oni secure. It's a private company. It doesn't have the same layers of encryption and security that a government agency or a covert military agency would. It's good, but it's not Fort Knox. Which suggests to you that they don't, they take privacy very seriously, but they're civilians. They don't really have anything to hide. And it also
there's
suggests
a connection between them and the government, but they're not
directly
government.
Yeah, this isn't a front for STG work. They're just funded. You know, they're contractors, right?
Yeah.
If that, they're like subcontracted researchers, at far enough arm's length that they can be denied if they need to be, but they're not going to turn down the money. So you set that to run, and to quietly copy any relevant information to your Omni. And then, do you do anything else before you step out? Write up your last will and testament.
That was a good start before.
Yeah, so you take a few minutes. The envirosuit it's a boring standard human envirosuit. It doesn't quite fit like it's tailored, but it'll do the job. You get all suited up and decontaminated, and you head out into the main room again. Dr. Akarinas is in the OR. She has her hood on now, so she is fully sterilized. As you go in, your hood does not go up because obviously she needs access to your head, funnily enough. And she shows you how to get comfortable in the operating chair. It's not a table, it's a chair. And so that you're settled in and secure. Because when you poke around in people's brains, sometimes muscles get activated, and you don't want that. So you get it's quite comfortable. This is definitely, if you're in a nervous mindset, or have any sort of medical trauma, this would be a very frightening room to be in, as it's very obviously like, we're not talking mad scientist big thing with all the knives over the head, but it's a very sterile, UV drenched room with a whole bunch of very sharp things and machines and consoles. So how is Jesse feeling as he gets settled in? Dr. Akarinas' bedside manner, she's gruff, but she's not unkind. It's just very business. It's very matter of fact. She tells you exactly what she's going to do, which you already know from the paperwork. But as she's walking you through this, before she puts you under, how's Jesse feeling?
Mentally, thoughts are, I think, the actual like practice, like the actual thoughts are like, yep, we're doing this. Just like kind of driving that driven motivation of, this is what I have to do what I have to do kind of thing.
Sure.
So the thought process pushes forward, but physically it's a very different feeling. And it's weird for Jesse. Because there's like this latent it's like a nervousness, a shaking. There's definitely a physical reaction to being in this situation, and it might be just that like ever-present reminder of the like time lapse of like the coldness and emptiness that was just there on the periphery, but not directly experienced due to the coma.
Right, sure. Yeah.
But I also think that there is this very human feeling of like unease, thinking back to or feeling back to like a parent who went in for a surgery, and the question of like, oh, this is serious. This is there's a danger here, even though it's someone trying to do the right thing and like take care of someone and whatever. You still don't know what's going to happen, and so there's an unease there.
Yeah, no outcome is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's how I would explain it.
Yeah, for sure. That makes perfect sense. Dr. Acarinas finishes by showing you the implant that she'll be putting in. It comes in 2 parts. The part that will actually go inside Jesse's skull looks a little bit like a net or a sort of maybe a tree sort of thing. So there's like there's a long a main limb, a branch, a lace, and then it branches off, and some of the branches connect to form that sort of net-like thing. So that part will actually go inside the brain. It's very thin metal and fiber optics with tiny little nodes in it, currently being held in a sterile container. And then because Jesse is Alliance, he already has some neural implants that they come kind of standard issue. And so she doesn't need to put in a port to connect it. She's going to connect the implant to the existing hardware that's in there. And the other half of the implant is the backup storage device. And that's the thing that you see in Kasumi's loyalty mission that it looks a little bit like a vape pen, if I'm honest. And yeah, that attaches, plugs into the port at the back of your neck or the back of your skull, and will allow you to create backups from the neural lace. So she shows you all of this, walks you through everything, and then asks you one last time, do you consent to having this procedure, and are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Then I'll see you in a few hours. She finishes securing Jesse's head in a comfortable support structure so that there's no chance of him moving at all during the procedure, and everything's nice and safe. And then the entire room, the lighting shifts again as another wave of UV goes over everything to finish the decontamination procedure. And she warns you that there will be a little pinch, and Jesse is out cold. There's darkness.
I'll start making my backup character.
The next thing that you are aware of is hazy color and sound and light. Memories that don't quite match up. They almost seem to be coming from 2 different people as they're playing through in your mind, and none of them are complete enough to really be coherent, and they lace together in the way that only dreams can, whereas you're watching them, well, of course that makes sense, right? Of course that animal can fly, and of course you're on its back, and then you're, swimming in the pool and then that pool becomes a lake, and then everything shifts color and changes to the very familiar corridors of the marathon that you've seen a million times before in your dreams. And all of it shuffles into some sort of orderly fashion, and you open your eyes. You are staring at a blue ceiling, and you hear the quiet hum of machinery. There is something in your nose, and you feel very woozy and very dazed. But you seem to be alive, so that's a start.
Okay, I have a couple questions because I don't know what I don't know where your head's at, Kaya. But
Okay, question away.
I had some possible revelations / ideas that I have no idea what the fuck is going on right now.
Okay.
Am I in the doctor's office?
Yes. As you come out of like the full-on dream state, you recognize that, oh yeah, these are the things that were above and around me when I was knocked out.
I recognize that I was knocked out and that, like, I know where I am.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm after.
You are who you were when you were knocked out.
Okay. Because I had this realization as, like, we were doing the whole, like, going under and, oh, you're seeing, like, two people's thoughts. And I'm like, oh, no, what if I wake up and I'm not I'm Jesse now?
I think what you were experiencing is that, because we've talked about there's a little bit of a connection. And there's also memory is stored in weird ways in the brain. And you've just had somebody poking around in gray matter that doesn't technically belong to you and was inhabited by a very different set of neural patterns for a lot longer than you've been in it.
Yeah.
So whether those were flashes of memory that were being brought up by the trauma of brain surgery and having your brain copied, or their echoes coming through the domain, I don't think Afka would be able to know that. But the other memories were hers. Right, and they're mixing and twisting in a way that's probably quite disorienting. And there is probably a moment when you wake up that you maybe believe for a second, oh, am I Jesse? And then I think as the effects of the anesthetic start to settle, and they're not great. You're gonna be woozy for a bit. I think you kind of go, no, I am still me, I think.
Did you want me to roll, like, a constitution save or something for the surgery and or dissociating during the surgery?
Yeah, give me a con save. Yeah. Let's see how well this went.
I rolled a natural 2.
Oh, shit!
For a total of 9.
Okay, so at least it's not a nat 1.
No, it's a 9 total. I have a plus 7 in my con saves.
Well, that's pretty good. You feel incredibly ill. Like the wooziness and the dissociation is bad enough that you're pretty sure you are who you are, but you're not really sure who that is. Every other second or so, the tinnitus is brutal right now, and your stomach is just so unhappy right now. You do not want to move. You suddenly very much understand why the paperwork said you need to have somebody to drive you home. Because at this particular moment in time, as you're waking up, I don't think you're sure whether you can walk.
Fuck. Is anybody there?
As you're struggling and waking up, you hear the doctor come close. It's like, breathe. Just breathe. Coming out is never fun, but you made it through. Keep breathing.
Did it work?
It did. The operation was successful. You'll pull through. You're going to have a hell of a headache for the next couple of days. I will say your scans were interesting, and I'm looking forward to analyzing them with my colleague. But yes, we were successful.
Great. I think I'm just gonna rest here for a minute.
That would be very wise. I can't give you anything for the nausea immediately. I need to wait at least an hour. After that, however, you will be able to take whatever you need to manage the pain and the nausea. If you have significant symptoms, please do contact us, and we will do our best to assist. Your sutures are currently covered in military-grade Metagel. I have provided several more packets so that you'll be able to keep the dressing up. You'll need to keep it covered for at least a week. And this perhaps goes without saying, but don't get hit in the head for a while.
I'll see what I can do. He kind of limply salutes.
Athena Vraga, you saw this before, on the rooftop, yesterday. My head, something not right, and yeah, the truth is that I'm not alright. I'm in a lot of pain, actually. I got this killer tinnitus, and I'm starting to hear things, see things, remember. Memories, dreams, I don't know. It's all kind of coming out at the same time, and it's getting harder to track what's real and what's not. And it happened before, but never this bad and never this consistent. And I think that if I don't do something drastic soon, that I'm gonna lose myself. And so that's what this is. And I'm sorry for not telling you all and for being secretive. You deserve a lot better than that. But it's what I've had to do, because well, honestly, I don't think I really know what I'm doing at all. I know what I need to do, but I gotta hold on to myself long enough to get it done. And so that's why I'm here in a dressing room, in a doctor's office, prepping for brain surgery. Maybe I should have brought someone with me. But in case something goes wrong, if the procedure doesn't work, or I lose myself before it's complete or before I can even see if my hacked together solution works. Or if it doesn't work and I don't come back from it. I wanted to leave you this message so that you kind of understand what's going on. I'm sorry in advance for lying to you. I'm Jesse. This body is Jesse, but I'm not fully. My name is Afkus. I'm an owl. And my consciousness was transferred into Jesse's body by accident when Cerberus attacked our ship. We were, my family and I were volunteers to be on a scout ship for the Reapers before the war broke out in earnest. We were fleeing, hoping that by going dark and leaving only necessary systems active, that the Reapers would ignore us. And my family, our scout ship, we were kind of the anchor. The ones that, like in an emergency, we would hopefully find out first or be able to alert our allies. But we never got the chance to do that because we were attacked by Cerberus. And while we were not... Well, my family and I were still in our mainframe. Before we could get to any of our remote frames, we were boarded and attacked, and Cerberus was trying to activate our systems or hack into our systems or something. It kind of happened all fast. I'm not really sure everything that was going on, but Alliance Marines boarded the ship and got into a firefight, and in some of the crossfire, something happened. I know that's not specific. I don't know. I don't know what happened. And Jesse and I swapped. And I've been living in his body since. I woke up from a coma and didn't know where I was or who I was or what was going on or what had happened to the galaxy. And it took me a little bit to really, like, get my bearings, I guess. I don't know. But I didn't know what had happened to me, or why it happened to me, or why Cerberus had attacked us. It took me a while to get on my feet, to get Jesse's body moving again, to find out about even the existence of Minos, and that maybe they might still be trying to follow up on whatever Cerberus's original plan was. I got scared and paranoid, and I didn't really know who or what I could turn to, but I was in and out of hospitals and therapists and the military, and I down to you. I kind of used Jesse's position to get this Oni appointment. I still can't believe that happened and that it worked out at all in my favor. I've been doing my best to try and keep Jesse's life together. But I have to get Jesse. I have to find him and my family because they're still missing. They're still gone. They were never recovered from Cerberus, and I think that whatever happened in the aftermath of that attack, well, I mean, look what we found out so far. My ship was taken, rebranded, remade, and my family is still out there. I doubt they're on. They wouldn't have been taken on the marathon, but because there was any kind of... Look, I don't know. I'm just trying to track Minos. I'm just trying to get back to them somehow so that I can find Jesse and give him his body back and find my family. So that's how I know that there are still people out there being held by Minos, because Jesse's mind is still in that mainframe. And if I don't get him back, then he'll never get back. And he saved me. He didn't mean to, but he did. And now I have to save him. And if I don't, well, it turns out like being in an organic body for this long, the body starts to reject the mind that's not supposed to be here. And it's starting to, like, I think, or maybe I'm just afraid, maybe I'm just paranoid, maybe it's the dissociation, maybe it's the memories, the things I'm seeing and hearing, but I think it's trying to make me Jesse. I think it's trying to correct itself. And if I don't hurry up and I don't find him, I'm gonna lose myself fully. But I can't leave his body, because then he'll die. Like, he needs a consciousness in order for the body to maintain. So what I'm doing here in the doctor's office in the back alleys of Ilium is getting a gray box implanted so I can remove my consciousness and put it in the mainframe of the Corsica so that I can get some separation and I can recoup and I can get my mind back. But it means leaving Jesse's body on life support, because he'll be brain dead until I come back. This isn't how our transfer is supposed to happen. It's not how it's supposed to work. It's just how it is. And I have to do this. I have to use every bit of my skills and Jesse's abilities to try and reunite us all and stop whatever it is that Minos is trying to do with my family and my people. But the fact that they're looking for me, I'm scared. I think they know. And I think that's what they're after. They want to know how our consciousnesses swap. And if it can happen accidentally, I'm just afraid of what they're trying to put themselves into. Anyway, I gotta hurry up because I don't think the doctor expects it to take this long for me to get changed. So I have to get my shit together. Because there's only one way through this. Anyway, hopefully you'll never hear this. Or at the very least you'll hear it directly from me instead of this sappy message. I'm sorry. I hope you can forgive me.
You have been listening to I Should Roll, Dangerous Dangers, Episode 22. Sergeant Westcott 6014 Alpha Charlie 7938. Featuring the voices of Dan Spitaliere as Afkas, Zachary Zagnoni as Digital Friend 2174, and Kaya Renwick as Everyone and Everything Else. Music and sound effects are used under Creative Commons or royalty-free licenses. For the extended credits, please see the show notes. And for more information, please visit ishouldroll.com. Find us everywhere on social media at I Should Roll. And don't forget to leave us a review. I Should Roll is an Intergalactic Improv Initiative production. This fan podcast is a transformative work and is not affiliated with Electronic Arts or BioWare.
Thank you for listening. Please don't leave me in here.